first, I have some definitions that would be useful. The first four are people group, culture, diaspora, and diaspora people group. So, people group is a significantly large sociological grouping of individuals who perceive themselves to have a common affinity with one another. And it's from Joshua Project. Next, culture is a way of life. Diaspora is scattered or spread out. People who are living outside home country are in diaspora people group, a people group that has been scattered and crossed country borders. Then there is what God is planning to do with someone in diaspora, to, through, and beyond, with some examples, Bible stories. Someone in diaspora learns about God and tells. Someone in diaspora learns about God from someone in the new country, like when Paul learns about God from Ananias. That's how I think it said it. Ananias. Through is someone in diaspora knows God and tells more of his or her people of the same people group about God. When Paul tells Jews in Corinth about God. And then beyond is someone in diaspora knows God and tells other people who are not from the same people group about God. Like when Paul tells Greeks and Athens about Jesus. Okay. Finally, we have why someone is in diaspora. Push and pull, again with some examples from the Bible. Push is someone is forced out of his or her country. Example, forced out by a natural disaster. And like when Christians flee persecution. Pull is someone wants to go to a new country, like to get a job or education. And Abraham goes from Ur to Canaan. And every time someone is in diaspora, they are both being pushed and pulled somewhere. Any questions?
What do you mean being both pushed and pulled?
Well, if they're forced out of their own country by a natural disaster, they could be pulled to a certain country.
Okay. Can you give any examples, people that you know?
Tihiku.
Okay, tell us.
She left from Nepal and wanted to go to the U.S. for education and a job. Any others? Okay. Here I have some major diaspora Bible stories, like Paul's missionary journeys. Is anyone able to think of any other examples?
I think the wise men coming to Jesus is a diaspora story.
Here, there are some words related to diaspora that are found in the Bible. I searched and found these words in the Bible. Any others?
How did you search?
Well, I used this program called eSword, and I would type in a word like captive, and it would give me a bunch of verses that have the word. So, and if it had verses that had the word in it, I don't see that. Some like immigrant, wasn't in the Bible, so I didn't put them on. there's going to be some top 10 lists. I show, like, what I mean?
Top
10 lists.
top 10 things.
Like, countries with the 10 countries with the most diaspora populations.
Gotcha.
In Africa?
So these are the steps I took to make them. Okay. The first one is I got the African country's total and unevangelized population and some people group information from Operation Lorance. And unevangelized means Operation World, those who have no adequate opportunity to hear the gospel or respond.
No what?
What? Adequate.
Adequate. Okay. Sorry.
And number 2 is I determined which people groups were in diaspora by counting people groups who are clearly from another country or continent. I looked up other people groups on the computer. Those who are in diaspora. Here is an example for what I counted as diaspora. The part underlined are the people in diaspora. The example is for now that how I made the top 10 list is continued. And step 3 was from the populations, percent of population in diaspora people groups, and unevangelized percentage. I was able to calculate the diaspora and unevangelized populations. I did this by multiplying the total population by the unevangelized percent or diaspora percentage. Okay, here's another example for Uganda, how I calculated stuff. So I started out with these 3, and then I multiplied the diaspora percentage by the total population of the country to find the diaspora total population. And to find the unevangelized population, I multiply the unevangelized percentage and by the total population. Okay, another step. For the diaspora top 10 lists, I put information on country name, population, and diaspora population and percentage. For the unevangelized top 10 lists, I put this in the same information as the first 2, but also put in the unevangelized population and percentage. For each top 10 list, I sorted them in order from greatest to least for diaspora population, diaspora percentage, and unevangelized percentage, and unevangelized population. Any questions?
Could I see that? Did you show the people groups and the diaspora were underlined? It's if you want that.
Okay, some more steps. I noticed that Egypt, South Africa, and Mayotte were on more than one list. For those countries, and the ones Daddy was planning to go to, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Uganda, I made profiles. Just so you know, Joshua Project counts non-indigenous by whether or not the people group is new to the country. From Operation World, I counted people groups who were not originally from one country as diaspora. And these 2 are the left steps. I made profiles by copying people group information from one country onto Microsoft Excel from Joshua Project. Then I added up the populations of the non-indigenous people groups who are new to the country, people groups together. I put the sum in a box at the end of the information. From that, I got the total indigenous population. And 8, I had the unevangelized information on top 10 lists because it's important to know who doesn't know Jesus.
Amen.
What?
Amen.
What?
Amen. Amen.
It is important to know that.
Here are comparing these 3 sources I got information from. Operation World doesn't have quite as much people group and diaspora information, but a lot of information for each country. The Joshua Project has a lot of people group information for each country, and also a lot for each people group, but doesn't have a lot of information for diaspora. The peoplegroup.org has a lot of people group information and a lot of diaspora information for them. I'm showing you this because the information in the 3 sources is different. Any questions?
Which source do you think you used the most?
I think I used Operation World the most. Okay, this is the first of the top 10 lists, which is the diaspora percentage in relation to the overall population. You can see that it's mostly the countries with smaller populations with the large percentages. Okay, the second one is the total population of diaspora people, and it's the bigger countries that appear on the list. The third top 10 list is the percent of unevangelized in relation to the overall population, and these all are mostly Muslim countries. And here's the total. The last one is the total population of the unevangelized people. And they're mostly Muslim countries and they're not big populations. Any questions about the top 10 lists?
It's good. Really helpful.
Okay. This is the beginning of the countries information. So the next set of slides have information on the countries that he wants to focus on. Ethiopia, Ghana, and Uganda. The first one is on Ethiopia. Ethiopia has the second highest population of diaspora people in Africa. And Ethiopia has about 5.5 million people who are in diaspora. This is the diaspora people groups in Ethiopia mentioned in Operation World. So, there's not really a lot. These are the non-indigenous people groups in Ethiopia mentioned in the Joshua Project. You can see that there are a lot of Somalis. Everyone able to see how much Somalis there are? The next country is Ghana. Ghana has the 9th biggest population of diaspora people in Africa, and about 900,000 people in Ghana are in diaspora. Now these are the diaspora people groups in Ghana mentioned in Operation World. This is the first part of non-Indigenous people groups in Ghana mentioned in the Joshua Project. Unable to see them? Now, these are the rest of the non-Indigenous people groups in Ghana. And most of the people groups are groups from other places in West Africa. Third country is Uganda. Uganda has the 7th largest population of diaspora people, with about 1 million people in the diaspora. See that? Okay. These are the diaspora people groups mentioned in Uganda, mentioned in Operation World. So, some of the stuff, I wouldn't say any information on the number of people, so in Operation World, so I just added it. These are the non-Indigenous people groups in Uganda mentioned in the Joshua Project. There are quite a lot of Gujaratis in Uganda. Okay. The next set of slides are on countries that appeared on more than one top 10 list. Egypt, Mayotte, and South Africa. The first one is Egypt. Egypt was on diaspora population and unevangelized population. Egypt has the 4th biggest diaspora population, and about 3 million people in Egypt are diaspora. These are the people groups in Egypt and in Operation World that were in diaspora. This is the first part of the diaspora of non-Indigenous people groups in Egypt mentioned in the Diaspora Project. These are the rest of the non-Indigenous people groups in Egypt mentioned in the Diaspora Project. And you can see that most of the diaspora people groups in most of the diaspora population, non-Indigenous population, are Arabs. Okay. The second one is Mayotte. Mayotte is a country north of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. Mayotte was on diaspora percentage and unevangelized percentage. Mayotte has the 8th largest diaspora percentage, and about 20,000 people in Mayotte are in diaspora. Okay, these are the diaspora people groups in Mayotte mentioned in the Operation World. And these are the non-Indigenous people groups in Mayotte mentioned in the Joshua Project. Some of the non-Indigenous people in Mayotte are from other islands, like the Reunions, Sayola. Okay, the last one is South Africa. South Africa was on diaspora population and diaspora percentage. South Africa has the biggest diaspora population and 5th largest diaspora percentage. About 10.5 million people in South Africa are in diaspora. These are the diaspora people groups in South Africa mentioned in the Operation World. This is the first part of non-Indigenous people groups in South Africa, mentioned in the Joshua Project. as the rest of them. So, and I think you've noticed that most of the people groups that are non-indigenous in South Africa are from either Europe or like South Asia. Okay. Now there's any questions about the countries? Okay.
Did you think about Nigeria? Did you consider putting it, like, doing research on Nigeria?
I'm doing the ones for Ethiopia, Ghana, and Uganda because those are the ones that Daddy